everyone. Welcome back to TC 911 Beyond the Call, episode 18. I am your host, communications coordinator, Abbey Dudek. And today I am here with Gail Wicks. Gail?
Hello, Abby.
Hi, Gail. I'm good. How are you doing today?
Fabulous. It's been a great day so far.
You know, it has been a great day. Yes, the weather's
so much fun.
Weather's getting warmer. We're having some great training today in our office. So, Gail, what is your title here at Tarrant County 911?
So my title is Telephony Analyst.
Do you want to go into detail of what that is?
Well, if you look at the description, which I looked at recently just because we were going to have this chat, it covers a lot of things because I took... Technically, I took over a portion of Bill Horn's previous position.
Okay. And that was an employee, for y'all at home, that was an employee that has retired a few years back and everything like that. So Gail came in to... basically, he hired his replacement is pretty much what that is. So.
And he was so nice to stick around a couple of months and give me one-on-one training, which I'm very grateful for because that doesn't occur very often in this universe.
How would you describe your job to someone if you were in line at the grocery store and they asked, what do you do? Oh, I work at Tarrant County 911. Oh, that's interesting. What do you do there?
Right. So primarily I'm in a support role, and I've worked on the administrative side, and now I'm on the technical side of the house because a lot of the things that I do are technical, and I work with that side of the house quite frequently.
Okay, yeah. And you were in our division, which is support services.
Support services.
Okay, there we go. So there we go. We're just
sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. Because I was actually like, okay, let me figure this. So this is not only educational for you all out there, it's also educational for your friend Abby. So yeah, you were part of technical support, technical services, and then now I'm doing it.
Support services.
You were support services. Now you're the technical side. So she was support services. Now she's all the tech people. Okay, so there you go. So with this job, I guess the best way of maybe communicating this is what are
in plain
tasks?
English.
Yeah. What are your tasks?
Well, a couple of my main functions is that I interface with all the telephone companies. And so that would be the wireless and then your traditional wireline or voice over IP telephone companies that you get your phone service through. So the thing that I provide to them is the routing that they will provide to their customers so that when they dial 911, they get to the appropriate 911 call center. So 911 call routing.
Okay, that's helpful.
Yeah.
Now, I've seen you take a bucket of phones out, and I know you're not calling buddies, and you go out. Tell me about that task, because I find that's really interesting, and I've always wanted to, and I really wanted to know. This isn't just for this interview. I really wanted to know. What is that? What are you doing when you do that?
Okay, so we have the FCC, the Federal Communications Commission, has rules and regulations for all the telephone companies and especially the wireless carriers. So they have to meet a certain amount of accuracy as far as location that comes with a call when people dial 911. So when I take my phones out, I always take the primary carriers, which in Tarrant County would be AT&T Mobility, Verizon, and T-Mobile. And so I test the accuracy of the location that the 911 call taker receives with my phone call to 911.
And you have helped me before, or I can't remember how that. Remember, we kind of partnered up when it was some location things at different subdivisions.
Yes, I've recently revisited Viridian.
Yes, over in
neighborhood
Arlington, right?
in Arlington.
Okay.
So they were having some issues there, and some of the residents in that neighborhood said, they were complaining about their calls might go to Fort Worth or Grand Prairie, and then they had to be transferred back to Arlington because that neighborhood's actually in Arlington. And what could they do about this?
Sure, I can understand the concern. Yeah, you want to make sure
it was taking time, and they weren't getting the emergency response as fast as they felt like they should have. So what I did was I went out and I made test calls all around the neighborhood because the neighborhood does border on the east. It would be 360, which turns into Grand Prairie there. On the north side is Fort Worth because there's a small strip of Fort Worth that's up close to the airport, and so calls right there. And then Euless is close by.
Wow, that's an area that's just kind of picking up everything. And folks, you got to remember too, if there's a massive emergency going on and towers are full, you could get bumped to another tower and be like, whoa, wait a minute, I'm over here. Why am I going to their tower? So
exactly.
Yeah, so that's okay. That makes sense. But yeah, that was something I enjoyed because it was able to not only discuss that, but so many other things too, which also came in with like their addressing wasn't set, something with their addressing too, and the front of the house versus the address on the driveway in the back or something like that.
Right.
A lot of good education going on there.
For the city always determines the address. It's not us, not 911.
Yeah, but I remember questions I was asked, but it was a great educational moment, not only for them, but for me too, because then we got them to the right answers for everything else. But going back to, the, I guess, GPS locations of where they need to go to, that's
right. And their accuracy is getting better and better and better all the time.
That is great.
Most of the phone calls that I make now are accurate within 10 meters.
Oh, wow.
I mean, it's really good.
Yeah.
And now in the Metroplex.
Is that because of the different new phones that are coming out, the strengths of the 5G towers? Is that all kind of a compilation?
It's kind of all of the above type answer, because traditionally the way that calls routed through the 911 network was the call routing was by cell tower. And this is what I still look at when I set up routing, because that's always going to be, if they don't have the exact location, and that would be either handset technology or network technology with the wireless carrier, or a combination of the both.
Are you talking about like landlines?
This is evolving all the time. And no, it would be GIS coordinates.
Oh, okay. That's right. The GIS folks were just talking about that last week also at GIS coordinates. Like, again, my hat's off to y'all, because a lot of the technology, I'm like, I kind of just feel like, hi, it's my first day in first grade. So when I'm learning this stuff from you, it's amazing, but it's good information.
Right. And so if the handset doesn't send a location, for example, to 911, then it would default to the cell tower. So we always have to have that in place. So that's what I provide to the wireless carriers, how to route it. Now the wireless carriers have this new technology, and they call it different names because everybody has to have their own name, but basically it's location-based routing.
Okay, I have heard that. I have heard that term, yes.
Okay, and we actually did a pilot and this was back in 2020, with T-Mobile. So they were the first in Tarrant County anyway to deploy location-based routing. And so their routing routes based on the caller, where he's at, not the cell tower. If it gets to the 911 call center with the call, if that makes sense.
No, that does. So it's kind of almost like your cell towers are now almost like backup.
It is backup.
It's like
a contingency plan, kind of.
It's like, we're here hanging out in case this goes south or something. We got you.
Right.
The bottom line is your call will get to 911, and it's interesting because when I talk to the public and I tell them this kind of information, when you're talking about it, it makes it seem like the process is really slow, but it happens lightning speeds.
Milliseconds.
Yeah. So don't think that there's like, a hamster in a wheel type of thing going on here. It's an immediate thing. So.
It seems instantaneous.
Yes, absolutely.
To us humans.
Yes, but it's so interesting. I feel like I've learned something here. So, how long have you been at the district now, Gail?
It was 4 years, March 1st.
Okay. All right. Well, happy anniversary.
Yeah, thank you.
A little late there, but yeah. I think I signed a card or something.
Yeah, I think so.
But then so 4 years. And then prior to the district, I know that you have extensive experience working for some of our vendors.
Yes, I'm one of the very experienced people.
I like to call it experience. I don't like to label it as anything else.
Yes. So my first career was with Southwestern Bell Telephone Company, who was headquartered here in Dallas, Fort Worth area for a while. And I worked 25 5 years for the telephone
You
company.
started when you were 8, right?
Right.
Okay.
And then they offered me a early retirement that I could not refuse, because they gave me 5 years to my age, 5 years to my service, and a bonus. So how can you say no to that?
No, you can't say. I'd say yes.
And so I retired and played for 2 weeks, and then went to work for Intrado.
Okay.
And that's a company, for those that don't know, that provides 911 database services to telephone companies and other service providers.
It's almost like a data plan middle person.
Right. So their biggest function is they route 911 calls for various phone companies.
You have a very great way of explaining it, because I'm actually with it. I'm not lost.
Oh,
I
good,
actually
good.
got it. No, you're doing
so I
great.
work with them all the time. I work with Intrado, Comtech, and a company called Bandwidth. Those are 3 biggies, and they all do 911 call routing for telephone companies.
This is great. Y'all at home, I'm sure you're just like, whoa. I'm telling you, throughout these interviews, as we're coming close to all of our staff members being interviewed, you learn so much. And what I love about my job here, on top of so many other things, is that we all do something really cool to make this whole
Work
of 911. We make it all work with different things, but definitely this with this making sure that the phones are, going the right way to where they need to be based on where you're at. And, if you're listening and you're like, I've called 911 before and it went to Fort Worth, but I am over by Haltom City. Sometimes that can happen. Like I said, the system, if there's a lot of calls, there could be a major accident going on. That could be a part of it. Or it could be storms or other things. But if you really think that there might be something that might be going askew or something, you can always. Gail was gracious enough to go out to Veridian and help them out. That is something here that she can provide or help that she can provide and make sure that everything. There's nothing wrong with testing it to make sure everything is going well.
Oh, exactly. No,
Yeah.
I love helping out people. I just helped out a bank
that's
last
really
night.
good. Yeah.
They had an incorrect address in the 911 database, so we got that all fixed, and I tested it to make sure it was like where they were physically.
So when it shows up, it actually shows their address on the call taker screen.
Yes.
That's brilliant. Yeah, and these are things too that's really important. You just struck up a great thought process of, hey, you business owners, and if everything, make sure your stuff is correct. If you've moved or there's been a change of whatever, just make sure all your stuff is correct. Because sometimes we forget the things like this, but then in an event of emergency, and it may still show another address.
Right, because it was actually showing an address when they called 911 where they were 16 months ago.
Okay, and just imagine if someone was having a medical issue and couldn't speak, and then emergency service is going to send their first responders to the wrong address.
Right.
So I'm really
Very
glad
critical.
I'm really glad you brought that up, and we can talk about that. So if you're a business owner or organization or something like that, and you're like, hey, we moved in the past maybe 2 years or a year or something like that, just make sure everything is hunky dory. If you have questions, we welcome you to contact us in the district office if you're in Tarrant County, and you can reach us. You can email us on publiced@tc911.org, or you can reach us on contacttc911@tc911.org. And no doubt someone will get your question, and we will get you answers and get the help that you need to reassure
definitely.
you that everything. Because our mission is, we want people to rely on their 911 system and to get the help they need in a crisis situation. And you're definitely doing that with all the services
thank you.
that you provide too.
It's my pleasure I ultimately, our job here for everybody, the one commonality is that we want to help save lives.
Absolutely. Couldn't have said it even better myself.
Yeah.
But that is so true. And we all do something different, but it recycles back out to saving lives.
And one thing you go to a lot of schools. And so I've helped out a lot of schools with making sure that their address information. Yeah. And then for cell phone coverage, I know that I went to TCC and went over the campus and made sure they had good coverage with all the carriers.
That's good. Now, schools sometimes can be a little tricky, because I remember when I was a 911 dispatcher, if a school called, sometimes it would just show the admin office, or it would show just a general office, and then it would be in a different building or a different, or even sometimes some office buildings. It'll show the corporate kind of address, but they're in a different wing or building.
And that's greatly improved since you were a call taker.
Yeah.
And because of the, again, FCC regulations.
That's good.
Because they have regulations also for what they call MLTS, which is multi-line telephone systems. And so they now have to provide a dispatchable address.
Okay, that's good. All right.
So
it has been a hot minute since I've dispatched.
So if it's a separate building, a separate floor, and most of them get down to their actual room numbers now.
Yeah, I have noticed that. No, but that's good. It's good even to mention, because there might be someone out there that didn't even know that, and it's like, oh, that is great to know, because I didn't know that they FCC enforced that.
Yes.
Well, yes, they do, folks. Got to have a dispatchable address.
And that's just like Carrie's Law, because I help a lot of the businesses meet the FCC regulations, or they call and they say, can you send me what I need to know as far as FCC regulations? And so not only for multi-line telephone systems, the MLTS, schools, hotels is a big one, Carrie's Law. And not only do you have to have the correct address, dispatchable address information, but the caller needs to reach 911 just by dialing 911, not 9911.
Yeah, not a lot of it. What was it? Most phone lines back in the day, you had to dial 9 to get out.
Yes,
and then 911. And if you're not familiar with Carrie's Law, it's a very tragic story that was here in Texas. And the family has made this Carrie's Law. She was in a hotel room. There was a domestic situation. Her children were there. They tried to call 911, but did not know that you had to dial 9 and then 911. And unfortunately, her life was ended. Right. So it's unfortunate that we have to go that process to make something new. But it's a great legacy to leave on to help save other people's lives. And I commend her family
for doing that.
Yeah, and
definitely.
And going above and beyond with that. So if you're not familiar with that, you can always Google that and just look at the whole story, read about their family. That's something that, Gail is just talking about that she helps with. Now, that services, so if I'm a business owner in, let's say I'm in Tarrant County or whatever, I work at ABC store or whatever, and I'm like, oh, I don't know if I do that. I don't know.
But you should be able to, all telephone systems now, you should be able to dial just 911 and get through to emergency services. Even if normally to reach a local number, you dial 9 and then the 10-digit number. And here, as an example, here at our system, here at Tarrant County District, you can dial 911, or you can just dial 911, and both will route you to the emergency call center.
So is this something that's automatically done?
It has to be programmed when the system is implemented.
So a business organization does have to notify someone to say, hey,
their telephone company provider.
Oh, okay. They deal with their telephone company. And is this a cost to the business, or is this fixed for free?
Well, any telephone system that goes in these days, it should be able to be programmed that way. Yeah, that's part of the FCC regulation on the multi-line telephone system.
There's some questions that I have gotten from the public those are good questions. Yeah. It's like, do I have to revamp my system? Am I going to have to pay for this cost to have it more safe, more effectively to call 911? But based on what you're saying, it's just to contact your phone company and they implement that and reprogram everything. Is that the best way to say it?
Well, that is a good way to say it. The best way I like to do is, get in touch with me. I can send you all the FCC rules and regulations for those systems, or you can actually Google it.
Okay, great. That is awesome. And we'll put, and when I post this too, if you're on social media or whatnot, or in the description of this podcast, we'll have our email as we always do, or you can get off our website, which I also put our website link on there too, so you can get that information. But Gail, I feel a little bit smarter than I did before we started this podcast.
Excellent.
So that is excellent. Do you have any final thoughts? Anything you'd like to leave with the public? Any sort of words of wisdom?
Words of wisdom. I don't know that I have that, but we're always here to serve. So don't hesitate if you have any question at all about 911. Pick up the phone and call us. We're most willing to help, with any questions regarding 911.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Miss Gail, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Not a problem at all. And everyone, thank you so much for listening. You can catch a new podcast episode every Monday, and you can listen to it on all of your favorite podcast platforms. And until next time, have a fabulous week.